Joe, nice to meet you, brother. I love watching you grow up.
He's pulling down his pants. Put up your pants, my man.
Touchdown!
Is this the dagger?
Fernando Tatis Jr., a grand slam.
Iguodala. It's funny to hear a female talk about routes. Like,
Pull up your pants. Take off the bra and be a man.
Welcome to From the Backseat, hosted by Clark and Ethan.
it's funny.
Welcome to From the Backseat. After a small absence, I am back as your host. I'm Ethan, and I'm joined today by my co-host.
What's up, guys? Clark, back again. Let's jump right into the saddle. Can't wait to get going today.
Yeah, we have a bunch to talk about. Obviously, last week we took a week off if you haven't been paying attention. So we are back. We did not cover week 9. So we got storylines from week 9 and week 10 that we're going to cover. And we're going to kind of go back to our old way of where we do the show. A little bit more light, a little more fun. So let's just jump into it. And I feel like the best place to start is we got to talk about the game that just ended, which is the Eagles versus the Commanders, with the Commanders pulling out the W and probably making a lot of bettors sad off of the ending play where the Commanders scored a touchdown to add on.
Well, I don't know if they'd be too sad about the ending play, because if you bet Philly, you lost the game, because Philly was minus 11 coming into this game. They were 11 point favorites.
I guess more of what I'm thinking is like fantasy-wise, if you had the Commanders defense.
Then, yeah, I guess you'd be a big fan of that. Or some scenario where maybe you live bet it and you took the Eagles at some sort of weird number. Then I guess you could be a little bit upset about that. But, I mean, God, really a surprise. I mean, I know divisional games are always very close. Like, this is kind of a known thing. Like, they typically don't go to big blowouts. I did not think for a second the Commanders would be able to hang with the Eagles and Nick Sirianni, Jalen Hurts, and Goddard and all those guys. And they went toe-to-toe. That was an impressive performance turned in from Washington. It's amazing.
Well, the most impressive part is, I mean, holding the ball for that long.
Oh, my God.
In the first half, the Eagles had 7 minutes of possession. That's insane.
Yeah, I mean, insane. But I guess, like, it's so insane. It's like almost something you'd say, I don't know if it's repeatable. Like, I don't think you could, as another team, sit there and be like, this is how you beat the Eagles. Is you have to control basically the game for about 85% of it. That's not an attainable thing.
The other thing you have to, they converted a crazy amount of like third and shorts.
Oh, yeah.
They were living in third and short all game, and they hit it almost every single time.
Well, can I say this too for Washington? Like, I really like the Brian Robinson story is really cool. But it's so clear with Washington that Antonio Gibson is by far the most talented back in that backfield. And the fact that it's ever been a conversation of who's going to get the majority of carries is like mind-boggling now even more.
I mean, Brian Robinson looked good tonight. I mean,
He
the
did.
issue is he just offers nothing as a pass.
No,
catching
and
back.
Gibson, get him off kick return because you're going to get him hurt. You're going to get your best asset out of the backfield hurt if you keep doing that. But for Washington, Riverboat Ron Rivera gets a little bit juice back in the sails. This is a guy I think you said a couple weeks ago looked like he was going to be done. And Washington at 5-5. I don't know. They don't go back to Carson Wentz, do they? They got to stick with Heineke.
No way. I don't think you go back to him.
I think you can. I mean, at this point, if you're Washington, you got to look at it as Wentz might be better talent-wise, but Taylor Heineke's got the juice, man. He's got the stuff that, like, obviously they win when he's on the field with them. And it's not just this year. It goes back to his couple relief appearances in the past couple years, the playoff game where they almost beat Tampa. I mean, you got to stick with Heineke at this point.
For sure. I don't think there's any way to go about it. But I've been thinking this for a while, and I think I'm ready to say it. And today's game didn't really solidify it for me, but I've decided who I think the most underrated player in the league is.
Hold on. Well, I mean, Terry McLaurin?
No. It's like really under the radar. That's why I say, like, I've been thinking it for a while, and I think I'm ready to say it because
Like
no
what?
one.
Like Montez? Who?
No, Jahan Dotson.
Jahan Dotson. He's the most underrated player in the league. I don't know about Jahan Dotson.
No one ever talks about him, but he's so productive when he plays. I mean, he missed half of the season. He already has 4 touchdowns. He's a really nice deep threat, but no one ever talks about him because they want to talk about Curtis Samuel, Terry McLaurin. I mean, the Commanders, if they got a capable quarterback, they have a lot of good weapons.
Excuse me, they have Taylor Heineke. They have a capable quarterback. I don't know what you're talking about.
Sorry, my bad. Also, one thing I want to talk about, and welcome in, Leland. Thanks for coming in, Drew, both of you guys. one thing I want to talk about before we move on is they need to make face masks or those kind of 15-yard penalties reviewable. That was egregious today, just watching that fumble with the clear face mask.
Yeah, I mean,
over and over
that,
again.
It's like you got to be able to like spin it back, you know, and just be like, hey, we got to look at it because that's something that changes the game. I mean,
well, the other thing is the face mask caused the fumble.
Oh, exactly.
That's the issue of, and it's so clear.
Incredibly clear.
It's so clear.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. For Philly, this is definitely, again, as 11-point home favorites to lose outright, that's pretty tough. That's a tough thing to do. I mean, I think that's got to be the biggest that's going to be the biggest spread blow probably this year, right? I couldn't think of one that'd be probably larger than that.
I would assume
to lose outright, like I'm sure there's been teams that have not had bigger spreads and didn't cover, but to lose outright.
Maybe when the Chiefs played the Colts, would be maybe one of my guesses.
Maybe even that was early. I think people still believe in the Colts. You know,
maybe when the Bills played the Dolphins.
The Dolphins still though were like respectable. It wasn't ever like, oh, they're terrible or something.
Yeah, I mean, this one was pretty
I think this is one that no one would sit there and be like, oh yeah, I picked the Commanders to win today. Everyone would be like, well, that's just a lie then. That's okay. You like to lie.
What do you think about Jalen Hurts tonight?
I mean, obviously he didn't win. Wins are not a quarterback stat. I think he was just okay. I mean, I think he gets a couple boneheaded throws in there at times. But again, this is a Philadelphia team. Like, I'm sure the overreaction that everyone's going to have is like, oh, Philly lost a game. Like, they're like, you got to panic about Hurts. You got to panic about the playmakers. You know, you got to sit there. Goddard got hurt. What happens? Like, what is this team? Are they fake? Are they frauds? When the reality is that, okay, now in the last 9 games, they're 8-1. They have lost 1 game. They lost to a divisional opponent. Did you think it was going to happen? No, but I don't think there should be some sort of massive overreaction to what they are. They're still a very good football team.
Yeah, I think they're really good. I don't really have that many takeaways. I mean, pretty much all my takeaways are about the Commanders.
Yeah.
There's nothing that changes to me about the Eagles because they're not going to run into a team who's able to possess the ball for like 23 minutes in the first half ever again.
Exactly. It's one of those games where you look at it and you have to say, it's like, okay, like I think there's recipes you can kind of cook up around the league that say, okay, this is how you stop this team. Like, this is how you stop, you know, Buffalo. But there's no way anyone sits there and like, okay, if we want to beat the Eagles, we have to control the ball for 40 minutes. Like, no team is sitting around and saying that. Like, no, well, it's not repeatable.
Even if you are, that's how you beat all good teams. Just keep the ball out of the...
Typically, the team that holds the ball longest wins the game.
I mean, especially when you're playing good quarterbacks. Like,
yes,
every game plan is let's hold the ball for an extreme amount of time so they don't have as many opportunities to score points.
I 100% agree. And again, I mean, this is like the first blemish the Eagles have even come remotely close to all season.
No, they've pretty much been perfect. No. This game really doesn't change anything for me. People will probably way overreact, but
everyone does. It'll be overreaction Tuesday.
This game was just a Quez Watkins staying on the ground, Eagles walking victory, pretty much. Quez Watkins stood up, ran a little bit, fumbled the ball, and lost the game.
Yep. It's just the way it goes. Eagles fans, I wouldn't worry too much. I don't really like Philly fans, so normally I wouldn't give them any condolences, but tough one, guys. I don't really think this is that big of a deal.
No, I don't either. Well, let's talk about Week 10 in general. Do you have any big takeaways from Week 10?
Week 10 in general, anything that I really sit there and take away as, I think maybe because we didn't get to talk about it last week, the progression of Jalen Hurts has been phenomenal. I mean, that's not Jalen Hurts, Justin Fields, my bad. The progression of Justin Fields as a playmaker and how the Chicago has started to tailor this offense to what he does best has been so fun to watch. This is probably for many Bears fans the first time in their entire life where they've watched an entertaining quarterback. So congratulations to you guys that stuck around. But ultimately, I think that's one of my bigger takeaways has got to be Fields continuing to go up. I think right now, the way he's playing, he's starting to look like maybe the second best quarterback from that draft class, if not settling on that at number 2.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree. I think my issue with the Justin Fields talk right now is people are really overrating him. Like, he's playing really well. I'm not taking that away. And he's a really exciting playmaker. He still has a lot to be desired as a passer. And you can blame that on the weapons, but
yes,
he still leaves a lot to me as a passer. But
no, I mean, I agree.
I mean, the people that are like, he's by far the best quarterback in that class. I'm not ready to say that. I mean, yes, he's shown flashes, but he's played like, I mean, we were at like week 6 and we talked about, should they like move on from Justin Fields? Not that long ago.
You talked about that. You did.
I mean, I did. I'm going to take ownership of that. I did say, hey, should we start moving along? Because he had some really bad games in a row. But now he's stringing together some really good games. So I think it's just weathered the storm on Justin Fields quite
I think
yet.
people are a little bit crazy going with like he's like, this is Michael Vick, dude. It's like, okay, turn on some Michael Vick classic tape, and you'll see, oh, wow, this guy would sling it. I mean, not to say that Fields can't, but the accuracy, the overall ability, I will pump the brakes on saying Justin Fields, the equivalent or something like a Michael Vick at this point.
But I mean, I also feel really good because I had to take, after I said that maybe they should think about moving on Justin Fields, I started to talk about how I saw the Bears offense moving the way that the Eagles offense moved last year, that they moved more into a position where Justin Fields becomes more comfortable,
No doubt,
is able to run the ball. And that's what they're doing. And it's working really well for them.
No, it's very smart. I think it's why the Bears have continued to progress. Another guy I think I definitely deserves his credit. I think Tua probably had one of his best games as a pro last week. Cleveland did a good job of limiting, I think, Waddle and Tyreek, and he still found a way to have a lot of success. I think that's got to be his best game as a pro. It impressed me the most because it wasn't just his normal weapons like Tyreek and Waddle getting it done all game. He found guys like Gesicki. He found other playmakers that he needed, and I think that was probably, it's probably the best quarterback performance from this week, certainly, and probably his, like I said, personal best, maybe of the career so far.
Yeah, I mean, for me, Tua is playing at an extremely high level, and Dolphins fans love to rub that in and act like that means that it makes up for the last 2 years. And for some reason, every criticism you ever had about Tua is so unwarranted. He still doesn't have that much throwing power. I mean, but
there's nothing wrong with admitting that too, by the way. There's nothing wrong with admitting that.
He's an extremely accurate quarterback, and that's what most people say. He's extremely accurate. He's playing at a really high level, but his arm strength just isn't there, and that's okay.
Yeah.
They drafted him knowing that.
Like, again, like the Dolphins offense, like, yeah, they take shots, but like, look, this is an offense that understands what Tua is. They play to his strengths, and it's firing on all cylinders. Like a Dolphins fan, you should be thrilled with what you have right now.
Yeah.
But also, I will say this too, like this will be a brief soapbox for me, but we need to collectively, everyone realize that like weapons, I mean, everyone knows they're important, but if you get a top tier one, it's so very clear how much they improve quarterbacks who are talented on their own. Like, just like, look how much Josh Allen got better because they added Stephon Diggs. Look how much better Aaron Rodgers is when he has Devontae Adams. Look how much better Joe Burrow is when he got Jamar Chase. Look how much better Tua is when he has Waddle and Tyreek. This isn't a mistake. It's because when you have talent combined with more talent, you get better results. I'm
going to throw in one guy into there. And this is something we talked about all offseason. And I think I'm time to say, yeah, I think we're too harsh on him. I think Keenan Allen was that for Justin Herbert.
I mean, he's certainly like, he's not like the explosive, like he'll go get a touchdown for you.
No.
But the comfort level that he brings, I think, to the entire offense is certainly to an extent that is very noticeable.
It's so noticeable, especially when they get into money downs.
Yeah.
It's so noticeable how much they miss the easy Keenan Allen third down conversion. The easy Keenan Allen in the red zone. It's so clear how much they miss that kind of safety blanket for him.
No, I mean, that's huge. I mean, again, when you have a guy who on third down can find the soft spot of a defense, whether it be, cover 3 or just find something on a blitz just to get open for a guy, you don't understand how invaluable that is until you don't have it. And that's what the Chargers, I think, are feeling at this point. So I think, again, we're both a little bit hard on Keenan in terms of like, why is he popping up in this top 5 conversation?
Yeah.
But I think you see right now why. I mean, the Chargers offense is last night
so bad.
Last night,
I mean,
pretty
I'm
pathetic.
not. So I went live on TikTok after the game just because I had to say something. For everyone that's making excuses for the Chargers right now because of injuries and acting like, oh, they have so many guys out, like they played much closer than they should have. I don't care. They should have won that game. They were up 16-10 at half. And they scored 0 points in the second half. They gave up 1 touchdown in the second half. That was the difference. I don't care what you say. If you are the Chargers defense giving up 19 points and you have Justin Herbert on the other side, it doesn't matter who's playing on the other. You should be winning that game.
Yeah, I mean, truth be told, in the NFL at this point, like it's really nice to have a good defense, but your offense is what wins you the games. And I know that's stupid because it's just like, oh, that's who scores. But people, like, it does not work to sit there and be like, oh, we have a really good defense. This should take us to a championship. That maybe 20 years ago worked, but the NFL now, I know scoring numbers are down compared to last year, but your offense is what wins you the game. Not we have a really good secondary. That will get figured out by someone because that's what happens when you play good teams. They have good coaching. They figure it out.
Yeah, that's my main takeaway. Anything else you want to? I mean, we should probably talk about the game of the week.
Bills.
I feel like we have to. Bills
yeah.
Vikings.
It's if you're a Buffalo Bills fan, it's tough because you had the new nightmare show up. The new nightmare, get Kirk Cousins' chains, man. Let him do his dance, the team plane ride home. But I will tell you what, I think that tells you a lot about the Vikings right there. I think it tells you a ton. That was not a game. I mean, they're eventually you got to think that their 9 lives are going to run out. The number of times they've come back from just double-digit points down in the second half at this point. I think it's already been a couple times. They seem to do it all the time. I'm sure if you're a Vikings fan, you might want to get on some Bayer aspirin for some, heart attack stuff. But the Vikings appear at this point to be like, almost team of destiny-ish feel. I know it's only week 10, but golly, they seem to pull it off every week. And not only that, but I think we have to acknowledge maybe at this point that Justin Jefferson is a top 2 wide receiver and not number 2.
Yeah, I know.
Fair at this point.
I said it. I think Justin Jefferson is number 1. I don't really understand the argument. People are trying to make the argument it's Tyreek. I'm sorry. Justin Jefferson won his team the game. I don't care what people say. Justin Jefferson won the Vikings that game.
I mean, that catch that you saw on what was it, a 4th and 17 heave?
It was 4th and 18.
4th and 18. He goes up there. The Bills have 2 guys in coverage. One guy has both hands on it. He goes up there, Odell's it in the cold, by the way. That ball is freezing cold. That ball is stone cold. Plucks it out of the guy's hands with one hand, falling back, pins it against his body, doesn't let it go. Are you kidding? That to me was the unquestioned greatest catch probably in NFL history. I know there's probably ones that have bigger moments, but if we're talking off a pure athleticism, holy shit, that guy just made that play, and I couldn't believe it even if you show me the video. That's what Justin Jefferson did. That's one of those things you would say, oh my, that's a Madden glitch. That's a Madden glitch at that point.
No, that was insane. I don't think there's much of a conversation. Yeah, you can talk about Tyreek. I get the argument, and I get the argument for other guys, but no one's doing it like Justin Jefferson.
I will say this: 1 and 2 in the league for a long time is going to be the 2 guys at LSU, I believe.
Yeah, I would assume so.
I mean, I think it's going to be Jefferson and Chase. I think it's the way it's kind of shaping up.
I will say there is one wide receiver who I can see himself making into the argument as we get further into this playoff run, and I think we'll push the envelope. And he had a really bad game tonight and didn't really do anything.
Oh, AJ Brown?
Yes.
I think AJ
Brown is going to push himself into that conversation.
I think AJ Brown's great. I think people one of the best things, the things I love most about AJ Brown is I think people so many times forget about his yak ability. That guy bulldozes dudes, runs like a 4.4 flat, doesn't have a problem getting off defenders and just scorching them once he gets by. It's a track meet at that point.
Yeah.
So he is totally underrated. I totally agree. So I think, I think on the other side of the ball, though, there are maybe some more legitimate concerns about the Bills at this point. I mean, I'm not hitting panic mode on anything, and I think they're certainly still a playoff team, and I still expect them to win the AFC East. But some of the things like Josh Allen, he looks a little reckless with the ball in the 4th sometimes. He's got a number of crucial picks now, and that last one wasn't a great one. I don't know where if he was going to throw it to Gabe Davis.
Everyone's talking about the pick in the overtime. To me, that's
fumble.
Not the worst. It's the fumble. To me, you can't do that right there. I mean, if there's one thing you can't do, literally anything else, you win the game.
I know they could have taken a safety. People talked about that. They could have taken a safety and they would have punted it away. They have no timeouts. You just watched Greg Joseph, the Vikings kicker, miss a point after attempt 2 minutes ago. It's Viking kickers. They would have missed that. You would have won. But the fumble was unbelievable. I feel like that was a perfect culmination of Buffalo's second half of that game. It was just complete pants dumping.
I mean, again, and I'll talk about this. Dalvin Cook just let his team down. No one's talking about it now because it didn't end up mattering.
But Dalvin Cook he dropped?
Yeah, just dropping it cold on the goal line on 4th and goal.
That was pretty remarkable. I mean, again, they got lucky. I thought that there was an encroachment the whole time, so I figured it was going to come, it was going to be fine. But at the same time, I was kind of like, oh my gosh, like
just dropping it
cold
like
home.
that. I mean, yeah,
get overturned
for sure. You know what? Let's move into some of the other stuff we got planned for today. So we talked about some general Week 10 takeaways, but let's get into some start bench cut. Let's go back to an old segment.
Old timer.
Let's go to an old timer. And so where we're going to start is with start bench cut with players who haven't performed well this year. So
gotcha.
Start bench cut, Kyle Pitts, Najee Harris, or Zach Wilson.
All right.
So who would you take is going to take the step forward again?
Kyle Pitts. That's easy.
I
don't think this is any of Kyle Pitts' fault. I think Marcus Mariota isn't particularly good. They, for some reason, decided to facilitate not the offense through him, which is mind-blowing considering when you turn on Falcons tape, he beats guys routinely. Like that Chargers game in Week 9, he fucking had 2 guys over the top as a tight end. He had a safety in a corner beat, and he overthrew him. Marcus Mariota overthrew him. That's
not only overthrew him, also threw him on the wrong angle.
I know. And like even I think it was like last week against Carolina. That was a terrible Thursday night game, by the way.
Yeah.
But like even that right there, like there were multiple times where it's like Kyle Pitts is open. There's a huge crossing route, and Mariota just throws the ball away. I'm like, are you kidding me? He's the guy I have the most faith in to get it turned around. I don't think it's his fault. I think it's the fact that he's in Atlanta. I think it's the fact that Marcus Mariota is a bad quarterback. Bench, I'll go with Zach Wilson. I'll go with the MILF Hunter, I suppose. I think, look, here's the thing with Zach. I still think this team is winning, so people will forget about him as much. Like, it doesn't really matter. I think he has flashes at times. He seems to certainly be careless with things. But I would say the reason I'm not cutting him is because Najee Harris is on this list. And I love Najee Harris. Najee Harris is one of my favorite personalities in the NFL. I think he seems like a super nice guy. I think he's athletically unbelievably talented. He has zero vision. He cannot see holes. That is so sad to me too. And I hate the Steelers. I'm a Bengals fan, as everyone knows. And the fact that Najee Harris has so much talent and the guy can't pick out holes properly is mind-boggling. It's
who he
crazy.
reminds me of?
Hold on. Who does it remind you of?
Every time I watch him, it always reminds me of the same player.
Oh, I don't know. I couldn't tell you.
It reminds me of like 2018 Melvin Gordon. When Melvin Gordon was like super productive on the ground but couldn't see anything. And the only reason he got open holes that were wide open was because Austin Eckler would open up like the pass game on pass sets before. And then they would just run Melvin Gordon down the middle. He would have no vision, but he's like tough enough to where he can get some big runs.
It's just such a bummer with Najee because again, he's so uberly. Like I think all the talent's there, but when you can't properly read holes,
no, it's worth nothing.
It's worth
especially
nothing.
when your offensive line doesn't make holes. That's the other thing because their offensive line is really bad too.
Well, I think one of the worst things, damning things, was like 2 or 3 weeks ago when like he had that ball out in the flat. All he has to do is just run forward. And he decides to run in 3 circles himself for fun. It's like, go forward. That's all you have to do is just go forward. You're not going to juke 3 guys at one time. This isn't the Citadel versus Alabama a couple years ago. Just go forward. So it's just like, it's a bummer. It's a bummer. I love Najee, but it's just not him right now. It's a bummer. I would cut him at this point. I really don't see it. And they feed him the ball too in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, they love to give him the ball. All right, so let's do our next one. So this is start bench cut, best catch of all time. So you already kind of answered a little bit of the question, but I'm going to put them up against some other famous catches, and we're going to see which ones you think. So start bench cut, best catch of all time. Justin Jefferson's catch in the 4th quarter last game. Yep. Odell Beckham Jr.'s catch. And the helmet catch in the Super Bowl by David Tyree.
See, this is hard because obviously you throw in like the moments. I think if we're just talking purely off the catch, I think I still stand by Justin Jefferson's. So I'll start that. I think what I saw on Sunday, that was one of the most spectacular things I've seen ever on a football field, catching wise. I'd have to start him. I have to stand by that. The bench, I'll go with, and this will surprise David Tyree. I think, again, I'm considering the moment in this one. That essentially won the 49ers. I saw the 49ers, Jesus Christ. The Giants that game. I cannot believe it. It's one of those moments you're like, it's like a Cinderella moment. You're like, how in the world did that just happen? And then I would say Odell with the third one. Again, that one was like a Sunday night. I don't think the Giants were even good. It was his rookie year. It was just kind of like, okay. Like, it was awesome. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, totally viral, huge moment. People will remember it for forever. But it wasn't like it won them the game. It didn't have some sort of massive implication in terms of what the game was being played. It wasn't a Super Bowl. It was just some random Sunday night game.
Yeah.
I guess I would cut the Odell one, which is crazy because I really didn't think there'd be anything I would say that's better. But then I just watched Justin Jefferson basically mimic the body language, but make it in a contested, freezing cold Buffalo environment.
With the game on the line.
With the game on the line. That was if they didn't get that, they lose the game. So,
yep. All right. So our last one, hot seat coaches. So start, bench, cut, hot seat coaches, Josh McDaniels, Cliff Kingsbury, or Nathaniel Hackett.
Oh, God. I'm going to go with the guy that I said was a reason the Raiders weren't going to be good.
Wow.
I will say, no, I'm saying I'm going to cut him. Like, he's gone.
I know. Yeah, he's the one you're getting rid of.
Josh McDaniels is absolutely the one I'm getting rid of. Oakland, while I, again, thought the roster was flawed going into this, I didn't think they were going to be this shit. I mean, this is pathetic. He got out-coached by Jeff Saturday, who picked up the phone from Jim Irsay and was coaching high school football. And Jim Irsay said, hey, can you come coach the Colts for me, buddy? And he said, sure. And he went out there and he out-coached Josh McDaniels. That's absurd. Josh McDaniels was terrible in Denver. I knew he was going to be terrible in Vegas, and I'm sorry I called it, but he's the guy who I'm absolutely cutting. Next, I would say Nathaniel Hackett. I would say I would bench him, I guess. I think Hackett's a dumbass. I think he's an idiot. I don't think he knows how to call a game. I think the Broncos are far too talented on offense to have this anemic of an offense. I don't know how much it's because of the Russell Wilson progression, but there's never any time I've watched the Broncos offense in the season and been like, wow, that really clicked. That really worked. It's just like a big mud pile. Even the touchdown I believe they had last week was just a random broken coverage against Tennessee.
Yep.
It was like, okay, Nathaniel Hackett doesn't scheme well. When he doesn't have Aaron Rodgers, he poops his pants, and that's what's happening with Russell Wilson.
Wait,
the guy gets starting.
Before you go, I want to say one stat about Denver since we're talking about Nathaniel Hackett. Did you know if the Broncos scored at least 18 points in all 9 of their games so far, they would be 8-1.
Yeah, I can believe the defense is unreal. The defense in Denver is ridiculous. It's ridiculous. However, when you have the offense that mimics the ability of like a toddler, you tend to struggle with scoring points. Shocking, I know, but that's just the case that it is.
All right, so who are you starting?
Yeah, and starting, look, Cliff Kingsbury. Cliff Kingsbury, first off, handsome fella. That has nothing to do with it. He's just a handsome guy that helps out with a lot of things. Maybe gets a little more respect in the locker room. Who knows? Second of all, though, Cliff Kingsbury, I think he has innovative play calling. The biggest problem with Cliff Kingsbury, in my mind, is that really he has like 6 games of creativity and then the rest of stupidity. Like he has no idea what he's doing after a certain point. And that's also just the way it goes.
Something about Cliff that no one ever talks about, and I feel like today was a good reason for it, is his locker room is managed so poorly. Like, why was Eno Benjamin cut today?
I have no idea. I don't know what the decision-making process is on that.
Well, so they came out with a statement saying that Benjamin basically wanted more playing time, which of course he would.
They cut him? Yeah.
Yeah. So
of course,
you watched him run and he ran well. Like, obviously he's going to want more play. And they probably should have split the backfield because he was playing really well while James Conner was out.
Yeah. So I guess we're going to start handsome fella, Italian stallion brother-in-law, perhaps, of Jimmy Garoppolo, the 2 long-lost Italian dudes. We'll start them, I guess. I think he sucks too. I'll bench Hackett. He's a bozo. That's just the way it goes. And I'm absolutely cutting and launching him into the sun of Josh Daniels, because that guy, I think I could outcoach Josh Daniels, because if you can pull Jeff Saturday off the sidelines of some high school game and he can outdo him, there you go.
Well, so let's talk about Josh McDaniels here for a second, and actually the validity if they'll move on from him. I don't think there's any way the Raiders move on after this season because they're still paying John Gruden's contract. I don't think they can pay 3 coaches' contracts at once.
Just get Rich Bisaccia back there. Just get Rich Bisaccia back in the building. Why they ever let him go, I don't understand.
We both advocated for that.
The team played for him, and they said, you know what, guys? Frig off, bud. Like, get out of here. We don't want you. And now look what they've done. They've completely pooped their pants. That's just the way it goes, I guess.
Yeah, that's just how it goes. Clark, you want to go coach the Raiders for us?
Yeah, I would. I actually think you guys would have a decent shot. At least I would make things exciting. I would just call 4 verticals every play. I'd have a lot of dumb things going on. So while it would maybe not be a win, it'd probably be far more entertaining than dumpster fire that's currently going on.
Speaking of the Raiders, is Chandler Jones one of the worst
Oh,
offseason moves?
I just want to, again, go on the record. I was told religiously that Chandler Jones was an impact rusher still. I believe he has 1 sack this season. If he has one,
I think he does.
I mean, the Raiders outside of Max Crosby, who is unbelievable.
Yeah, he's really good.
So pathetic. It's crazy.
Well, Devontae Adams is also playing really well.
I know. I'm not saying I'm talking about on the defensive line only.
Oh, Nate. Oh, defensive line. Yeah, because I was about to say Nate Hobbs is also playing really well.
They've had some decent little sprinkled in players there, but the reality
Max Crosby is the best player.
Max Crosby, the best player, and then basically it's a bunch of trash cans. Like tackling dummies are out there on the other side of the field.
You know what it kind of feels like? Joey Bosa the last couple years. Like where it was kind of Uchenna Nwosu on the other side, and then he'd get injured, and then there were just a bunch of other guys in the middle. It feels a lot like
doubled him, and then because of that, guys won their one-on-one assignments.
And they're still really good against the run, so you feel their presence there. Because Max Crosby, I feel like, is probably the best edge defender against the run in the league right now, maybe outside of Nick Bosa. Yeah, Max Crosby's playing extremely well.
Yeah, extremely, extremely well for Max Crosby.
All right, so what we're gonna do is we are gonna revisit our top 10 list from earlier this season. So Clark and I are gonna re-talk about. We're going to do this for a couple minutes. And then what we're going to do, if you want to stick on, is we're going to be drafting the top non-quarterback offensive threats. So Clark and I are going to go back and forth here in a little bit. But before we do, we're going to talk about our top 10 lists. So we had put together top 10 quarterbacks over the offseason. And Clark and I thought it'd be good to revisit those and talk about what our hits, what our misses are, maybe pat ourselves on the back and talk about some of our biggest misses. So Clark, what's your first takeaway of how things look from your top 10 quarterback list?
I mean, there's certainly some guys I would take out of there at this point.
Let's just talk about who are we removing?
Russ. I believe I had Russ in there.
You had him at 9. I had him at 11, which I'm really happy that I didn't have him in the top. That's my biggest
Russ at 9. I mean, again, I thought Russ would still I looked at Denver and said, okay, playmakers, in theory, an offensive minded coach, and Russell Wilson had a pedigree. So I figured there'd at least be some sort of translation rather than what it was. And then another guy, and I don't know if it's entirely his fault. I wouldn't take him out, but I'd certainly move him. I actually might take him out. It's Stafford. Stafford's been atrocious this year, and I know it's because the Rams have a ton of issues up front, like blocking, and I think skill position-wise, things have not clicked. But I would say I would take him out.
But his shoulder's also screwed up.
His shoulder's cooked.
Yeah, I think I would remove him from the top 10.
I mean, obviously, I would move Brady down from where I had him at number 1.
Yeah.
I think Lamar,
would you move Rodgers from 2?
Yeah, I would probably. I mean, again, I think if we had to reorder the shuffle of where we were.
Well, how about this? How about let's come to a consensus top 5 right now? So I think number 1 is a consensus. It's Mahomes, right?
It's Patrick Mahomes for sure.
So yeah, we both have Mahomes. That's consensus 1. My number 2, your number 3. So I feel like we're pretty good on that because we both put the legacy players at Rodgers and Brady right around there, which I think is the right call. Yeah. Who do you have at 2 then? So who would be your number 2 quarterback right now?
I think at this point in the season, number 2.
I know who it is for me, but I'm curious what you say.
Number 2 for me. I'm trying to think. I mean, I would still say Josh Allen.
Yeah, I would go Josh Allen.
I would say it's Josh Allen.
So then who's 3? Who are you thinking is 3? Is this where Rodgers slots in, or are you moving him down?
Look, I mean, if we're basing it off of this year's performance alone, I don't think you can put Rodgers in there. You can't. I don't know if you can at 3.
So if we're talking about this year, there is a player who I think should be at 3, and I don't want to say it, but based on performance, I feel like.
I mean, if we're gonna say at 3, we're basing it off performance.
It has to be Tua, right?
I was gonna say Jalen Hurts.
Oh, okay, Jalen Hurts.
I was gonna say Jalen.
I get Jalen. I think Jalen can be there. It's hard for me not to put Tua there, though.
I think Jalen. So for me, it goes Jalen and then Tua.
Yeah, okay.
And then 5 is a toss-up for me between Burrow and Herbert. And I would lean Burrow.
Yeah, I think I would too. I'm
One
trying to think if there's
still not in there, which sucks because I really want to put him in there as Lamar.
Yeah, I think I would put Lamar at 5, to be completely honest.
I still think I would still say Joe over Lamar.
But the reason I think I put I would put Lamar over Joe right now is because I think Lamar has been a little bit more consistent than Burrow.
Yeah.
Burrow's been really good as of recently, but I mean, Burrow's start to the year was pretty rough.
Burrow's first game of the season, he had
Four
believe,
picks.
four of his 6 interceptions he's thrown.
Yeah, so that's why I think I'd put Lamar there, but I think it's really close between those three.
No, I agree. I think you're tooth and nail on that one, what you're going to go with.
Yeah, and Gino might be there right
Gino,
after
I mean,
those
like,
guys.
look, again, this has like been a crazy year in terms of guys who you say, like, Gino, I think has to be like for the top 10. I think Gino has to be in it for this year, right?
Yeah, I think
mean,
so.
the ball that he threw, I believe, to make it a 1-score game last week, running to his left, throwing across his body and hitting a guy in the corner of the end zone. That was one of the best dimes of the year. That was crazy. So I think Gino has to be slotted in the top 10 at this point.
I think he does too. I think so. All right. So anything else you want to add to top 10 lists? I mean, Russ would fall out. Does Kyler fall out for you? Is Kyler a top 10 quarterback anymore?
I mean, here's the thing with Kyler. I mean, I don't know. I think Kyler's like still 9 or 10.
I think I would put him there because of the athletic upside, but
yeah,
I don't think if you were to go production wise, I do not think he's top 10.
No, if we're going to production wise, no, I wouldn't. But like, I'm trying to like run through who else I would say is like better. No one in the NFC South besides
is Kirk Cousins.
Kirk's got to be in the top. Kirk's played great.
Kirk's played great.
As long as Kirk Cousins doesn't play in a primetime game, Minnesota's chilling the rest of the way.
So let's make a prediction. Let's make a bold prediction right here. Is Justin Fields in the top 10 by the end of the year?
No. He's in the top 15, but he's not in the top 10.
I don't think he gets to the top 10.
I don't think he does either.
I don't think it's been consistent enough.
I still think Trevor Lawrence is better for sure. I think Trevor Lawrence, I mean, the Jags had so much hype after that just smearing of the Chargers. And it hasn't formulated. I still think if you watch Trevor Lawrence, you're like, okay, I see what this guy's about. Like you see the parts.
Well, people are forgetting because they made all those moves, but I mean, Jacksonville still has a lot of work to do. I mean, they had the number 1 pick 2 years in a row.
I know. You don't just immediately become like very rarely. I mean, what's he at this year? I mean, he's like, okay, 13 for 6 and a quarterback rating of 90. I mean, that's not great, but
it's not horrible.
I feel like it's better than, I don't know. He's had like he played well last week. You know, he has 72% completion percentage against the Chiefs, 260 yards, 2 touchdowns.
Yeah.
It's pretty good.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
All right, so Clark.
Yeah.
You ready to do some drafting?
Oh, yeah.
All right. So Clark and I are going to do an offensive player draft. So we are going to go back and forth. This is a 5-round draft, and we are drafting any offensive player. I'm guessing, did you just go skill positions or did you include offensive linemen?
I just did skill positions.
I just did skill positions too. So it's just skill positions, offensive players, no quarterbacks, so they're not included in this. And so we're going to go top 5 back and forth.
Yeah.
So Clark's going to pick first, and he's going to start by building his team of 5, and then I'm going to build my team of 5. And then at the end, we'll post this on TikTok as well. If you in the comments are watching and you want to say whose team you think is better, then go ahead and do that. We're not building for completeness. We're just building for who we think we can assemble out of the best skill positions in the league right now. Mm-hmm. Preferably, I guess you'd want 3 receivers, a tight end, and a running back, but it doesn't have to work out that way. So, Clark, who do you want to start off with? You have the first overall pick. Who you picking?
Oh my gosh. First overall pick. Who am I picking? I mean, honestly, maybe this is just a little bit of recency bias. Maybe. But I feel like I got to go Justin Jefferson. I feel like I got to go with a guy.
He was number 1 on my big board.
I feel like I got to go with a guy who I think is playing the best right now, and that's Justin Jefferson.
Yeah, so he was number 1 on my big board, so you stole the card away from me. My first pick, it might be a surprise, but I want to get him early. I want to secure him, and I might open the door to Clark having the pick of the next best player. I'm going to take Travis Kelce.
I knew you were going to do that. I knew you were going to take Travis Kelce. Why would you take him first? You could take him. All right.
I don't know. I figured you would take him at some point. I wanted to secure him right now. I think he's still the best tight end in the league. He's the most, again, if people are being honest, he's a top 5 receiver if he played the receiver position. He is still so good. He's still so high level. No one plays the tight end position like him right now. So I'm taking Travis Kelce with my first pick.
I like it. All right. For my second pick then.
Yeah.
This is tough. Because I want to pick my guy.
I know. Who are you going to take, though?
But I'm not going to.
I assume I'm just going to take the one you're not going to take.
I'm going to take Tyreek.
Okay, yeah, that's what's.
I'm going to take
happen.
Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill is the guy I'm going to pick. I love you, Jamar. If you ever watch this, I'm sure you won't, buddy. I love you, but I just think right now Tyreek doesn't have a fractured hip and he doesn't have a partially torn labrum, so I'm going to go ahead and take Tyreek.
Yeah, so Tyreek was number 3. So pretty much this is gone by my big board. So my number 4 is who you weren't going to take. I'm going to take Jamar Chase.
Yep.
So Jamar Chase is going to slot in at my number 1 receiver. I mean, again, what else do you want? The big play, home run, gap receiver. Again, Joe Burrow's great, but I would love to see Justin Herbert playing with a guy.
Yeah, it probably would be very fair for most NFL teams.
Like Jamar Chase. I mean, Joe Burrow, again, has great arm strength, but Justin Herbert is something out of a video game if you could actually let him uncork some balls.
I know. I just wish. Oh, God, that'd be so nice.
It'd be so nice for anyone else. But who's your third pick in this draft? I feel like this is where our boards are going to start.
I know where this is going to shift.
Yeah.
I would still say the guy that I thought going into the year was probably the best wide receiver in the NFL. I would say Davante Adams.
Okay.
I would say Davante Adams.
Okay, so that opens the door for me. That's the first player that I can pick next. My value. I'm going AJ Brown.
Okay.
I'm going to take AJ Brown there. I thought about Cooper Kupp. I like Cooper Kupp in that slot, but I think if I'm looking at athletic upside, I think if you could have AJ Brown as a number 2 on any team, give it to me.
Be good night. That's all I know. Good night.
Yeah. Okay. So who you going with your 4th pick?
4th pick. See, this is where it gets tough because there's a lot of good guys out there. There's a lot of real good players out there. Just going through my head, who would I take with my 4th overall pick?
Are you going to go running back? You going to go receiver? Are you going to go tight end?
I know it's so hard, but I'm trying to think through it. I'm like running back, tight end. Do I want to go into the wide? I mean, we're just doing skill position players, so I feel like
so you can take another receiver if you want.
Oh, gosh, I feel like again, you know who I'll go with? He'll be my hybrid.
Yeah,
I'll go with Debo.
I have
I'll
Debo.
go with Debo Samuel. I will go with Debo Samuel.
Nice. I'm going Saquon Barkley.
All right. Yeah. See. All right.
I'm taking Saquon there. Saquon has been outside of the receivers. He's been the best running back in the league so far this year. I'm not ready to. I wouldn't put him number 1 as an actual ranking because you got to put some of the legacy points in there for guys like Nick Chubb. But Saquon Barkley has been by far the best player in the league. I mean, as a runner and as a pure pass catcher, he's been otherworldly.
No, for sure.
So who are you taking with your last pick?
Should I be required to take a running back?
You can. I mean, you can take a running back here.
Nah, I don't think I will. If I'm going to go with my last pick, then I would go with Cooper Kupp.
Okay.
That's who I would say is my other guy. I mean, again,
with the
I would play no tight. I would play no tight end. Debo would be my running back, wide receiver. But that's the way I would go with it.
Yeah, that's pretty good. I'm going to take Stephon Diggs then.
Diggs, yeah, I get it. Diggs, okay.
I'm going to take Diggs then with my last pick.
I like it.
Yeah, so I guess notable players that we didn't pick was Christian McCaffrey didn't go off the board for either of us. We didn't have Nick Chubb go for either of us. Austin Eckler, another guy, maybe Alvin Kamara. I feel like those are probably the heavy hitters. Maybe DeAndre Hopkins could be another receiver.
Probably
that you put into the equation.
D-Hop, yeah. I mean, there's an argument to be had there, I think, for sure.
I don't know who else would really factor into when we talk about best offensive skill positions. Oh, Derrick Henry. Neither of us took the King.
No, neither of us did. You're right.
Neither of us did. I mean, as we get to it, I mean, I feel like a lot of this draft, I mean, Justin Jefferson, I think, is going to be the clear number 1 by the end of the year when people are said and done. I mean, besides for the Eagles, do you see a team stopping the Vikings, honestly?
Not really. I can't see it. Not at the moment.
I think it would be tough. I mean, I feel like, oh, Drew said you should have went Mark Andrews. Yeah, Mark Andrews is another one that didn't come off the board for either of us.
Very good point.
George Kittle, another guy who didn't go off the board. Those tight ends. But yeah, we'll see. I mean, this NFL season's. You got any hot takes you want to talk about before we go? Anything?
Not that I can think of. Not that I can think of.
How is are you still feeling good about the Packers as your Super Bowl pick?
No, terrible. Terrible about it.
You think they're a playoff team?
No.
I don't think they make it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, people are going to talk up Christian Watson all week because of his 3-touchdown game. And I mean, he looked good, but something's going on. And maybe I'm just over the Rodgers stick, but I'm kind of sick of him just like blaming everyone else for himself. Like he is definitely a part of the I mean, he threw 3 red zone interceptions last week. And yet he just talked about how it's bad execution. And I'm like, yeah, but you're not taking any of the blame for it. I mean, 3 red
100%.
zone against the worst secondary in the league.
Without a doubt. Without a doubt.
Yeah. All right, you got anything else before we go?
That's all I got, I think.
All right. Well, this has been From the Backseat. Thanks for listening in. Thanks for our wrap up of week 10 and going through, revisiting our top 10 list. We'll continue to go back to some of our old segments like Start Bench Cut. Hope you enjoyed it. Make sure to follow us on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. Make sure to subscribe here on YouTube if that's where you're watching it. Make sure to like and comment on the video. It really helps the algorithm. And make sure to always be reaching out to us. Join our chalkboard. It's been a lot of fun to get to know you guys. We are back and we are better than ever. Clark and I are ready to hit the ground running again.
Yeah.
So thanks to everyone who watches and thanks to everyone who enjoys the show. Have a great rest of your night, everyone.